We appreciate you being here with us today as we're going to talk about the shift to an agentic service organization. Our whole goal here is not to repeat slides that you've already seen in every session today, so hopefully we'll keep that to a minimum. This one you have probably seen, and a ton of them. Um, Make sure that any buying decisions you make are what we have available today. We are going to talk a little bit about some of the things that are coming, but they're coming in the very, very near term. So I'm Kate McCardle. I have the great honor of leading an incredible solutions team here at Salesforce, and I'm overjoyed to be talking about my very favorite subject, which is service. I've been working with and for and around service centers for more than 30 years, so I couldn't be more excited to talk to you today. I do want to take a moment to thank you all. If you've been with us for a while, if you're a partner, you are helping us shape our organization. You're helping us shape our products. And if you're new to Salesforce, this is a great place to learn. So I'm overjoyed that you're here with us today. So let's talk a little bit about service. I should have all of you guys clap at random points just to completely throw them off, but we'll try to stay focused. So you all know that a human-only workforce is limited, right? It's hard to keep people staffed. It's hard to keep people on staff because turnover is always really high. Things like the marketing team introduces a new channel and you have to deal with it all of a sudden. You get unusual spikes. It's just a lot of challenges. So through the last decade or so, we've been adding in lots of great automation, right? Automate the manual, try to take the easy stuff off of your human agents' plates. And now in this new agentic world, when you get your humans and you get your AI agents working together, you're driving case resolution even further up, whether that's because you're doing a better job with self-service or you're helping the humans. Because honestly, the better job you do with self-service, the harder you're making the human agent's job. So let's talk a little bit about customers. Customers want what they want when they want it. They want to get the information they're looking for however they choose to reach out to you. And they don't care if you think they're in sales or if they're in service or if they're responding to a marketing ad. They just want the information. And you all hopefully have a great set of service options offering them low touch service, so self-service, being able to do it on their own, or maybe low touch, so that's the combination of some self-service with humans, maybe like a pre-qualification step, or there's always going to be high touch. The great news is we have agentic offerings for all of these layers, and you're going to see a lot from Ben, you're going to see from Mike, you're going to see from Aaron, and you're going to hear a lot about all of those levels and how we can help you at all of those phases. The only thing we don't recommend, you don't want to do your AI standalone. You don't want to spin up an autonomous agent with no way to get to a human, because guess what? The first time that customer doesn't get the answer that they want, they're going to stop using it. Maybe they'll give you 2 times, but you don't want to put all this investment into something, make it hard to get to someone when it gets a little more complex and have a disconnected experience. So that's why we feel pretty strongly that Service Cloud is the way to go. So every contact center I've talked to in the last 30 years has 2 goals when you net it all out. 1, they want to take cost out of the business, and 2, they want to increase customer satisfaction. Maybe they're calling it customer lifetime value, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you want happy customers and you want it at the reduced cost. So the good news about Service Cloud is it runs on our overall platform. If you've been here all day, you've heard a lot about our platform and all the great capabilities. And the reason that that's important is because certainly you want all of that autonomous AI across all of those channels, but you also want that assistive AI, or the ability to have your agents be able to get help. And so you want that seamlessly, regardless of which communication channel, regardless of what steps the customer took to get to your human agent. You just want it to be seamless. And you want all that analytics and all those insights so you can feed it back into the experience and keep making it stronger and more successful for your customers. Again, the name of the game for us is consistency. You want that experience for your customers, for your human agents, to be very similar. You don't want the agents seeing different things than your customers do. And so you want to make sure that you're thinking about that as a continuum. We're going to see a lot in just a few minutes from my friends here. There's 4 big steps that you want to take as you go on this agentic journey. The first one is you want to start getting those AI agents working. You want to learn What are people trying to find? What are they trying to do on their own? More importantly, how are they trying to do it so that you can make that really successful? The second thing is you want all those insights. You need to know where was I really successful? Where was I off base? The third, you want to get your humans not just in the loop, but helping to shape that loop, right? So number one, they're going to handle the tricky conversations, but you also want them advising you on steps 1 and 2 because they know what your customers are looking for and they know the right answers. And then finally, the nirvana, and you're going to see this from Aaron, take all that information and make it proactive, because the best type of service interaction is one the customer doesn't have to initiate and maybe didn't even know they needed. So now I'm really excited to welcome up my friend Mike, who's going to take you through more detail on this. And Ben here is going to drive for Mike.
Thanks, Kate. Great job. Hey, folks. My name is Mike Cliff. I'm one of the product managers here in Service Cloud, and I'm responsible for the CSR's experience that you'll see a little bit later here. But I want to talk about the first step on this journey that Kate introduced, which is putting our AI agents to work. So, I want to start off by giving an example of what we did internally with Salesforce. So Gartner said a stat recently, which is about, in the industry, it's about 15% deflection rate across channels is like the norm for self-service. And we did something interesting within customer service at Salesforce, which actually led to something that was 5 or 6 times higher than that. In fact, we did something that is crazy, but we saw deflection rates of 86%. And what we did was, we introduced a conversational UI for Agentforce at the very front door of our support portal. So the first thing, we drive the funnel of customer behavior through a conversational UI and offer Agentforce right up front as the doormat into which customers can ask questions, and we can provide the content up front so that they can deliver and they can get service in a more conversational fashion. And just doing that, just driving that behavior, saw us have a more empathetic, a more successful self-service response rate, and we use that then to use all the power of the learning platform from AI to have more empathetic, more successful customer experiences, which is awesome. So this is a bit of a shift from the traditional way of deploying bots with like complex conversation dialogue trees. This is using Agentforce to its full potential to unlock your data and present it in a conversational way. So let's have a look at this in action. So, give you an example here. Julia is a Welo Smart TV customer. And she's after buying her TV, and she's got an issue about the return policy. So what does she do? She goes to Google, and she searches first, like a lot of our customers do, and she's given a link that's into the support portal for Welo. But think about this for a second, right? She's logged into this portal from a previous session, so we now know what the context is, we know who she is. We're able to deliver, when she clicks on that link, we're able to deliver a more personalized, proactive experience as part of that. So we know her products. We may have a good idea of why she might be contacting us. And here we can be proactive with Agentforce to try and get ahead of this. So as the conversation evolves, like look at this, the page is dynamic and it responds to the turn in the conversation. That is so amazing because it's gone from the old way of doing things where we have a disconnected portal from the chatbot system, from the knowledge base, from the CRM. Like we're using all of that data together to have such an amazing experience for support within this portal for Julia. So within this experience, as part of this whole process that she's going through, she needs to go ahead and she needs to capture a picture of the issue. And this is always a point of friction where we need to find that picture or go offline, take a picture and come back to this. But what Julia does is Agentforce invites her to open up her mobile app, the Welo mobile app, and continue the conversation within there and share a picture. So with Salesforce and with Agentforce, we're able to have seamless connected experiences across multiple different surfaces. And if your customer is one of those companies that has a mobile presence and a web presence or across multiple surfaces, we can have a continued conversation experience across those surfaces in a seamless way. So we can switch, Julia can upload our picture, and Agentforce can take it on to the next step. There's No customers, there's no other vendors in the market who can offer that kind of an experience as a differentiator. So that's amazing. But as part of this interaction, Welo customer service has been set up in such a way that when somebody has an issue with a scratch on their TV, or there's some bit of a defect with the asset itself, it requires, the guardrails are set up in such a way that it needs to be escalated into a human agent. So let's now have a look and see what happens when one of the support team gets involved to help with this interaction. So this is John's agent view as he picks up this conversation within Service Cloud. And notice that he's just joining in on the conversation that's already progressing, and he's got a quick summary here of everything that's happened, and he can scroll up and see all the assets and images that have been shared within this and have a really, no repeating themselves, no questions being asked, as like all the context is there. John also has information to do with Julia, her purchase history, her marketing information, sales information, it's all there. But what's powerful here is that John's preferred language in this case is actually Spanish. So with this intelligent agent experience, John can switch to Spanish and get that conversation presented in his preferred language and continue on with this conversation and with no impact to Julia's experience here in the back end. Now this is powerful because this is helping build efficient agent experiences, but it's also helping customers like Welo have operational agility. So as they move into new markets, or as conversational UIs become more prominent, there's going to be a strain, like there was on Salesforce, to have more support for more languages. And this is the power of Service Cloud. This is what's helping agents become more efficient, but also customers like Welo excel in operational efficiency. Thanks, Ben. Great demo. Okay, so let's move on to the second part here and talk a little bit about proactive service. So there's no shortage of data for service organizations today or for service leaders, but 94% of service leaders say that it's very difficult for them to be able to do things with that data and extract the value and signals out of that data. And not only that, but when you can extract the signals, then what do you do with it after that? So at Salesforce, we've taken that to heart, and we are very excited to introduce a new product, which is taking those insights across all of your channels and turning them into not just our signals, but also action plans then to solve that particular issue. So Customer Experience Intelligence, or CXI, will help service organizations spot emerging trends or bubbling up topics and then take action on that data, which is really powerful. So with that, let's jump in and see how this might actually work in practice. So in the previous example, we saw an interaction where we had an AI worker and we had a human worker work together to have a great outcome. But let's have a look at the team view of all of this and happening. In the Omni Supervisor dashboard, we have a view here where we can see human workers and AI workers working together in the same view. That's huge. That is agentic workforce management happening at scale across your entire service organization. But that's just one interaction, right? That's just one customer outcome that happened with Julia. But what if we look in here and we just look at the holistically across all those interactions at scale? So using our CXI, supervisors can jump in here and they can spot trends that might be happening. And in this case here, we can see that there's an emerging trend that's happening across all of our conversations, not just chat, but across voice calls, across survey responses, emails. So you can have a top-down view of everything that's going across all of your channels. And here we see that there is an emerging problem that's happening here, an emerging trend of negative sentiment that's centered around warranty returns. So what do we do with that? So from here, the supervisors can have a conversation with the data. And using Agentforce, supervisors can jump in here and say, tell me more about what's going on with this negative trend. Now this is huge. This is almost having a conversation about an insight with Agentforce for service leaders to help be more proactive. And here we can see that there seems to be specific to warranty returns, it's around the warranty policy. So here, our supervisor can go ahead and they can create a segment of customers who are impacted by this, and they can quickly put together an action plan for how they might address this in the future. And with that, I'm delighted to pass it off to my friend and colleague, Erin, to talk to us about step 3.
Thank you very much, Mike. Hi, everyone. We're in the home stretch, so thank you so much for sticking with us. And I'm going to talk to you about what are we doing for our human service reps. We've heard a lot about what we're doing for autonomous reps. What are we doing for these human reps? And with agents handling all of these routine tasks, it truly frees up our service teams to focus on the things we want them focusing on. The higher complexity cases, maybe a high touch customer, maybe a more high valued customer, right? But then it only makes sense that we would support them as well, right? We're asking them to do these high stake deals. We want to make sure that we have something to support them as well. And luckily, Agentforce has something for them too. So in addition to the employee service agent that we all know and love, we are now introducing the Service Rep Assistant. And what the Service Rep Assistant does is it puts right in the flow of your agent's work a plan of action, a plan of attack that is grounded on your company's data, in your company's knowledge, and also uses contextual data about the current case, maybe the current customer. So let's see it in action. All right, so now John has a new case, and this time it's from Emily. And as we saw earlier, it's about a warranty claim. The first time Emily's case was denied, and we want to put it through a second set of eyes. We want to put a human review on this to see whether or not we do really want to have it declined. And we see right away Service Rep Assistant in action. It is front and center for John. It has created using Emily's Customer 360 data, even the asset data about her TV, as well as all of your company's rules and policies to inform a plan of attack for John. He simply needs to walk through the steps, and when he reaches the step now to search through Emily's case data to see whether or not she has a pattern of making such requests, he can simply ask Agentforce to do that for him. He doesn't need to do that time-consuming task of searching through her cases. And Agentforce responds right away, as we see, telling John that it's okay to approve this case for Emily. And he proceeds to let Emily know via email. And now new to the Service Rep Assistant, we have smart actions. Things like draft email, close case. So in addition to giving a step-by-step guide for what John needs to do to close his case more efficiently and effectively, we're giving him actions. So he can send the email right from the case, right from that same screen. He can close the case right from that screen. So these smart actions are embedded in the Service Rep Assistant, which is an agent. And to top it off, we have generative AI write the email for John. We send it off to Emily, and her warranty is approved. So this is the new employee experience reimagined. We're putting AI tools that are context aware, that are knowledge aware, right inside of the tools your service reps are already using today. No siloed AI tools or generic co-pilots. It's the new Agentforce agentic service experience. All right, so what do? We have seen Agentforce helping out customers, helping them self-serve faster, like Mike showed. And we just saw agentic service helping our service reps in the moment, helping them close cases more efficiently, more accurately. But what do we do when it takes the next step to on-site service? I think that we all know that field service can be the most complex of them all. And it has been riddled with inefficiencies. So let's watch.
If my AC company had Agentforce, the powerful AI from Salesforce, an AI agent would have flagged the issue and automatically helped me find someone to service it. What?
Wow, you are moist.
Well, how'd you get an appointment?
Dude just magically showed up.
Agentforce, sir.
Huh?
Oh.
Sorry, dude, cold air's getting out.
Agentforce helps manufacturers prevent appliance defiance. It's what AI was meant to be.
All right, I love Woody Harrelson. I think that he will always hold a place near and dear to us Bostonians' hearts, right, Woody? And the facial expressions he makes are hilarious in that, but that did not look fun for Matthew McConaughey. So what are we doing to help solve this problem? Luckily, we have been innovating a ton on AI and Agentforce for field service. We've just recently launched the scheduling agent that allows your customers to schedule 24/7. Our Agentforce scheduling agent doesn't need to sleep, so whenever it's convenient for your customers, they can schedule, still using all your scheduling policies and restrictions. And then we have also enhanced the pre-work brief. The pre-work brief looks much like that service assistant, except for text. It uses real-time contextual data to generate a brief, a summary for your techs that they can get this information before they go off on site. And then what we're most excited about is the capacity planning tool, something that we have been waiting for here in the field service team. The capacity planning tool will allow you right inside of field service to be able to better plan your resource demand and act on it when you see a resource crunch. So let's see what would have happened had Matthew used Polar Bear AC, Woody's AC company. You can see he's talking back and forth. Agentforce has proactively reached out to Matthew to schedule an appointment. Again, respecting all of the scheduling policies you already have in place, except Agentforce is able to communicate with Matthew in natural language. It understands things like next week, next Thursday, can't do it, can we do it later? And it even understands things like, all right means yes. These are things that a typical bot would blow up on. So Agentforce has scheduled Matthew's appointment, and now it looks like he did it for next week, July 3rd of next week. I can't believe we're there already. And so let's fast forward and see what this looks like from the tech's point of view. So our tech has received Matthew's service appointment, and as he's driving, he asks Siri to read the brief aloud.
Overview. A routine maintenance visit for the AC unit at Mr. McConaughey's penthouse lounge at the Zenith Residences.
All right, we won't read the whole thing for time, but you get the point. This is generated based on the work order data, and if that work order data changes, the pre-work brief can change. It is generative AI, it is contextual, and it is real time. All right. It also will look at the asset, health score. All of the information surrounding the work order is now at that tech's hands. And then let's just take a quick look at capacity planning. Again, I said we're super excited about capacity planning. It's built on Tableau Next, and it is right in the field service app. So now your dispatchers or your service managers can adjust for these service crunches. And I think it's pretty timely considering the heat wave that we've had this week that they can, that we have a negative 205 tax hours available at Polar AC. But the cool thing is that Agentforce is data and context aware with capacity planning. So we can ask Dataforce, what do you suggest we do about, ask Agentforce, what do you suggest we do about this? And Agentforce can research that data and give solutions. So we've seen Agentforce for field service, for your techs, for your customers, and even for your service dispatchers and service managers. And with that, I'd like to invite Kate McCardle back up.
Thank you, Erin. All right, so Erin and Ben and Mike just showed you how to put your AI agents to work, how to use insights like signals to turn them into action, how to make sure that your agents have as much help as they need, and who doesn't love a good checklist, I gotta tell you. And then finally, turning things more proactive so that poor Matthew's experience can be more like Woody's experience. So now what I'd love to do is invite Jim Slocum from One United Bank up, because they are an incredible Service Cloud customer. They're gonna talk a little bit about their Service Cloud experience and some of their thinking about AI. Hi, Jim.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Good. Kind of weird, just making sure this is on.
I know, it's weird because we can't, anyway, it's a very strange experience if you've never done one of these Disco
Thanks, guys.
demos together. We were hoping you could tell us a little bit about how One United uses Service Cloud.
Oh, yeah, sure. So One United's been on Salesforce now feels like forever, about 2 decades or so. We've had many ups and downs over the years of trying to get it right, and I think we finally hit our mark about a decade ago or so, and we've really done a lot in the space of service over our tenure with Salesforce. We've tried a bunch of different things, and this last round has been truly phenomenal for us in terms of how it's transitioned our customer care area.
I love it. So I had the great opportunity to talk to Jim a little bit last week about how they're thinking about their agentic journey, and they're doing some really cool things to get ready for Agentforce. And I thought I would have him share a little bit about how they're doing that so that by the time they're ready to go, they are just going to take off like crazy.
Yeah, so I think what's really exciting about where we are today is that we've started to move into a space where we're starting to use a virtual agent to start off our engagement with our customers. We did that move and pivot a couple of years ago where we introduced a voice-based virtual agent for the inbound phone calls, which was creating cases within Salesforce and starting to collect all the data. So, I saw all the information that you were saying, like, building all the dashboards and all that great data that's coming in. We started to make that transition a couple of years ago, and what we found was we had a lot of success just with the data there. But as we're moving towards this space of thinking about a truly generative AI virtual agent, what we believe is going to happen is the quantity of engagements is going to drastically escalate. And while we've built out a pretty strong operation behind the scenes with our agents today who are using Service Cloud, we believe that what we're going to need is a much more robust approach to handling kind of that oversight and management because as you can imagine, in the banking industry, you've got to not just be able to do it, but you got to be able to prove what you did. And those are the types of tools that we're excited about as we look at what's coming with Service Cloud.
I love it. And can you talk a little bit about, what are you thinking for your generative journey? And how do you think it's going to change how the bank does business?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I said, we're kind of stepping into this. We started with a natural language-based intent routing when it came to our Service Cloud implementation. And now as we're looking at what we want to move into the generative and being able to provide, kind of visibility and oversight, what we're looking to do first is we're actually going to look to leverage AI as part of our workflow. So what we want to do is we want to build out the cycle. We did a great job of implementing a knowledge base over the years. That knowledge base is a great self-service tool for our customers to go and find things. And we believe that what it should be doing is providing a lot of answers. As we move into virtual agents, we're expecting that knowledge base to be the primary driver of our success in those interactions with the virtual agent. So what we want to do is we want to drive a workflow forward that allows for the post-case wrap-up that's happening today with our human agents. We're going to use a post-case wrap-up to go through a generative AI to assess whether or not the agent did a great job for sure, kind of that QA experience, but then also we want to be able to tie that to our knowledge base articles that are driving the engagement, right? So we believe that today we surface some knowledge articles up to our agents, and then our agents are referencing them, but we want to know whether or not those knowledge articles are truly aligning with what the agent's saying on the phone. So we think by kind of closing the gap there, what we can build is a cycle of post-call wrap-up, improving the knowledge article, making recommendations for knowledge article enhancements, and then what we'll be able to do is pivot those and bring them into the front end for our virtual agent to use them as the primary driving factor of how the virtual agent will solve the cases. And then that'll also, as we move into a space where we turn on this virtual workforce to assist our agents, we'll hopefully be able to have that insight into how those virtual agents are doing. And just being here today, I think has been really exciting to see all of the things that Salesforce is doing to make it possible to manage this virtual workforce and have oversight, and ability to make sure that it's meeting our standards.
I love it. I thank you so much for that, because I think, learning from your human workforce to train your digital workforce is just so smart. So I really thank you for taking the time to be with us here today, hanging with us here for the very last session, and for being a customer for more than 2 decades. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you so much for having me here today.
Yeah, appreciate it, Jim. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, so I promise for at the very end for everyone. You can still learn more. Out in the campground there is food and beverage and more demos, so you can learn even more about Service Cloud and get a little hands-on if you're interested. You can join our Service Blazer community in Slack. And if you've never downloaded one of our State of Service reports, you should download the State of Service reports. It's a great way to get insights from thousands of service centers all in one place. I'll give you a second to get that QR code because unsurprisingly, we're going to move forward and give you another QR code for some feedback. But really appreciate you being here with us today. Thank you for all of our speakers, our demo presenters, for Jim for being here to share One United's journey. All right, everybody got it? All right, so thank you so much for being with us here today. Really appreciate you taking a day to come and learn more about Salesforce and certainly to come and learn more about Service Cloud today. Thanks, everyone.